Gamers Nexus versus Linus Tech Tips. Is YouTube just changing way too fast?
I'm addicted to you, and it's twisted. You've been gifted with the evil voodoo. Got me coming back for more, even when I've been.
All right, if you haven't been under a rock lately, you've probably heard of a story that came out yesterday, and it's by a company called, or a channel called Gamers Nexus, all right? Now, what they did is they called out the biggest tech channel in the industry, Linus Tech Tips, or one of the biggest at least, for, let me just read it over here, lack of accuracy, ethics, and responsibility in their videos, all right? Now, there's a reason why they did that, and I'll get into that in a second, and it's not going to be all about that. I want to kind of explain that, and then I'm going to explain to you why I think YouTube is changing. Probably, it's going to be a watershed moment for them. This is kind of happening right now. It's something that a lot of people are waking up to, and it just scares me a lot to think that this is what YouTube's become, and I want to kind of explain that. So if you're interested in this kind of topic, plus my kind of viewpoint at it, definitely watch this video. I think it's going to be interesting. It's going to be fun. And at the end of the day, I'm just a small YouTube channel, but I'm giving my opinion on this and my opinion on YouTube in general. So sit back, relax, and let's get into it. All right, now without getting into the weeds of everything, what basically happened in a nutshell, this is just in a nutshell basically, is Linus Tech Tips came out with the videos. They were just talking behind the scenes, but they made a comment, something like, Gamers Nexus doesn't test their equipment like we do. We test all the time. And Gamers Nexus, they basically will use old data sometimes, but we, Linus Tech Tips, test all the time, all right? That's the first thing that set this off. So after this happened, Gamers Nexus came back with a video. It's about a 45-minute video, and I'll link it in the description just so you have a copy of that so you can watch it. It's very interesting. But what they did in that video is they pointed out all the errors that Linus Tech Tips makes, and they said, hey, you're changing from an entertainment company now to a testing company, and you're responsible. You have to be ethical, you're responsible. All these kind of things were kind of thrown in this video, all right? And it's very interesting. But beyond that, they also talk about a specific case where Linus Tech Tips, who was reviewing something a small company sent them. It's kind of like a dye to cool CPUs or something. And what happened is Linus tested it on the wrong CPU, all right? He got bad results, and then he said, don't buy this product. Well, it wasn't the right CPU he tested it on, and he still made a comment like that, and it potentially could ruin a small company, is what Gamers Nexus was saying. At the end of the day, though, which even made this worse is he said that, and then the the actual company that made the die actually wanted it back. It was a prototype, and they, I guess, Linus Tech Tips said that they might do that, but they ended up auctioning it off at one of their events, and they didn't give it back to the company. Now that thing's floating around, and it's a prototype for this company. So all these things are happening, and they're calling that unethical. Gamers Nexus was. So this whole thing happened, right? And at the end of the day, it's interesting because here's a company, Linus Tech Tips, that grew so big, and they're moving from entertainment to this kind of voice. They're the main voice in the technical field, as far as YouTube right now. So what they say matters, and they can destroy companies very quickly, or they can bring companies up really quickly as well. And that's a power that nobody's really had before. All right, if we all remember the early days of YouTube, you could go on there and watch how to water your lawn, how to maybe play a guitar in a certain song or something. And it was very simple, very straightforward. The production value wasn't, completely great. It was actually just creators being creative and having fun on YouTube and posting small videos here and there, right? And that's really what YouTube became. It became the place you could find little tidbits of information from people that may not be experts but share your interests. And you took it with a grain of salt. You understood that they may not be complete experts. They could be right, they could be wrong, but you used it for entertainment value and also some knowledge. But that's where it started. And the reason I liked it back then so much is it gave these small creators a chance or a voice to make us laugh and to test things out and show us products that big companies wouldn't. And we understood it was some guy maybe sitting on a couch of his parents' house. We couldn't take him serious or her serious. We just basically liked the videos, and we kind of did our own research in the background, all right? But the videos were not to the level that they are now or that they're actually going to. The production value was lower, and all these things combined just made the experience feel, I guess, more innocent at the time, and everyone wasn't at everyone's throat, basically, and you had just fun watching these videos because you understood YouTube, what it was at that time, all right? But now it's morphing into something different. All right, we're shooting forward till today, all right? So we have channels now like Linus Tech Tips, and they have huge viewerships, all right? Number one, they have millions of subscribers. They reach millions of people. He even said that his company was valued, or someone offered to buy it for $100 million recently, and I'm sure it's gone up since then. And then you have also creators like, obviously, Mr. Beast, that actually people have said his name is valued at over $1 billion, with a B, $1 billion. So things have obviously changed since the good old days with that guy just sitting on his mother's couch, spitting out kind of crazy videos, and we're at a different part in YouTube. I mean, nowadays, a lot of these YouTube channels are hiring, like Linus Tech Tips, corporate CEOs like from Dell and other companies to run these companies because there's so much money involved. There's so much product that are getting pushed at them. There's money that they can make on advertising and things like that. These things are now being run as corporations more so than just a simple little channel, like I guess the whole reason why YouTube even started. And one thing I noticed right off the bat, and let's stop talking about Linus for a second, is really that the problem that I see is the people that we wanted to get away from, the corporations, right? The bigwigs, the people that want to push advertising in our face, they're coming back. These are the people that we wanted to get away with, right? We wanted to get away from. And now they're actually creating their own channels, and they're doing it through various means. They're either having direct channels online on YouTube, and they have their names right on them, or they're just siphoning through other kind of small creators or large creators for that matter and pushing their content that way. So overall, I mean, obviously where there's money, there's going to be these corporations coming back in, but we wanted to get away from those corporations by YouTube, right? But now I think it's really saturated more with the corporations than with the individual users. Another reason too is it's funny, like I actually stopped watching Hollywood movies. I'm just sick of all those people in Hollywood, and I wanted to watch YouTube. I want to watch small creators and stuff. But now you have, I mean, it's being saturated by people like Dwayne Johnson, Gwyneth Paltrow, Will Smith. They all have their own channels. It's as if they don't have enough spotlight on them, right? So now they're creating YouTube channels, and it's kind of slowly morphing back into from YouTube. It went from, network TV, movies, and it's coming back the other way. Now YouTube is actually where it's more profitable for some of these people to work, and it's kind of, I think, clouding the water on YouTube. And then to make things worse, you have all these other people that are just basically creating content and showcasing their wealth, all right? I bought a Ferrari. I bought 10 Rolls Royces. Look at my house in Hollywood Hills. Look what you can get if you create a YouTube channel. And I'm not really doing anything. I'm just sitting here. I mean, these are crazy channels that are coming out, and I think it's really warping the minds of a lot of people, right? This is not even tech related. Tech is a little bit differently. You can learn some stuff from that. And I'm not being biased or anything like that, but you can't really learn a lot from watching some guy drive a Porsche into a $20 million house just because he makes YouTube videos, and there's really no point or reason for that video. And what's even more alarming is you'll see like a TikTok video or a YouTube video, a short or something, and they have some girl dancing maybe in the hallway of her house. She's dancing for 2 minutes, basically, halfway clothed, and then all of a sudden it gets 25 million views. The person's driving, a Rolls Royce or something. I mean, the fact that they're actually pushing these algorithms so that these people can watch this 25 million times, it's mind-boggling to me, but it's happening over and over again. So let's get back to the Linus Tech Tips in this technical industry, like that's what you're here to see. But really what's happened then in this industry is now people have the power to either break or make companies, small technology companies, by their review, right? They can say, I like it. They say, I can't like it. There's really no, how they test it sometimes is never disclosed. And that's a problem, I think, with these big channels. They got so big that people rely on them to make all of their buying decisions. And that wasn't what YouTube was all about from the beginning. It was about really getting pieces from a whole bunch of different people, making your own decisions, doing your own research, and then making a choice, but not just following one person like a herd of sheep. I mean, YouTube's become a place where the big channels keep getting bigger, the production value keeps going up. You need, massive amounts of cameras and equipment and all this other stuff just to compete. It has to look perfect. Sound has to be perfect. Mine never is. I know that. But I mean, you have to, in order to get the views, you have to be big and you have to keep growing. The biggest viewer, the biggest channels are getting probably the most views because of the algorithm sending them that way. And this creates the situation where just one thing out of place can ruin a small company or actually build a company right up if it doesn't deserve it. And we're in a situation where there's a lot of power being wielded by a few people. Wielded, maybe. Now, it's hard to say what I would do, right? Obviously, I think it's fair to make some money. You're doing your work. You're doing hard work. You're spending the time to show people stuff. But at the end of the day, I mean, I just want to say, like, I get it, all right? I'm not calling these people. I watch Linus Tech Tips all the time. I still will. It's one of those things where you don't know what you're going to do in their shoes. But I just think this has something to do with, we got to kind of get this reined in because these channels are becoming bigger than YouTube in themselves. I mean, each category of them is basically YouTube's entire face, when that's exactly the wrong reasons. That's not why YouTube was created. It was more about diversity of all the different people and all the different views. And if you watch my channel, you'll know one thing. I do product showcases, all right? All my technology, I'm a Mac channel. I do all these different drives and everything. But I always say I do a product showcase because I'm one person. I'm just giving my opinion, number one. I don't have the time to test things for 1 or 2 years. Plus, I could buy one thing, have it shipped to me. Mine could work perfectly, but 10 other ones that come next could be completely garbage for someone else. You're testing one device. You're one person. You have limited knowledge and stuff. You're giving your opinion as honestly as you can. And I only put things on that I actually honestly did not have any problems with, but it doesn't mean you should buy it. People need to be responsible today in all technology, and you have to do your own research. Don't just listen to Linus Tech Tips, but listen to them. Don't just listen to me, but listen to me a little bit, but then do 10 or 5 other ones if it's a big purchase before you pull the trigger. Make sure you listen to a whole bunch of different technicians, people of all various different things before you make your decision. And don't blame the creator. The creator is only trying to do their best job, but it depends on, and I'm going to get into that in a second, but it depends on a couple factors, and I'll get into this. So I guess thinking about it, when you get as big as Linus Tech Tips, though, they do have a responsibility. They moved from entertainment. They were an entertainment channel, and that's kind of what I am. But they started creating all these different warehouses, and now they're doing product testing. And they have all these different engineers they're hiring. And, obviously, you look at all the machines and all the expense they're putting into it, and you believe what they tell you. So I do believe channels like that do need to have more responsibility, obviously, than small channels. And I'm not trying to protect myself or small channels around there, but we have one person, like I said. That's why I do product showcases and not full reviews. And I just want to try to explain, if I get bigger or I get in a situation where I am doing, engineering testing, which I'm not really qualified for, I'd have a professional do it, and you'd have to lay out all the facts. But I don't do that right now, and I don't think a lot of channels should. All right, I just want to wrap this up now. Now, I'm not stupid. I turn my YouTube ads on. I want to make a little bit of money. I'm not calling people out for that. I'm not calling Linus Tech Tips out. I actually love their stuff. I'm not calling Gamers Nexus out. He had a pretty good video. It just comes down to the fact that where have we gotten to this? How did we get to this spot? I mean, where YouTube has gotten so large, so big, that here we are talking about one person's opinion can destroy a small company in, one video or this or that. This is pretty scary stuff. And that's kind of what I wanted to make the video on. I mean, this is not really the roots of YouTube. I mean, YouTube was all about little teeny channels or medium-sized channels, growing and actually just showing people a whole bunch of different angles at technology and any topic that you're interested in, and then you make your own decision. But now we're in a different position on YouTube. Corporations are getting into it. Hollywood stars are getting into it. The money is huge in it. We're talking hundreds of millions of dollars, and it's morphing into what it was trying to get away from. At the end of the day, I think we need to put a stop to it somehow. I don't know how. Support your small channels like me. I'm just kidding. You get the idea. But support your smaller channels. Support channels that are doing things off the beaten trail. I mean, you got to mix it up. Don't always watch one channel versus the other. You might like them, but try other channels. Try other things. Keeps, things moving. Keeps things fresh on YouTube. And you get different opinions from different people. I think that's super important, no matter if it's tech, makeup, or whatever you want to, whatever you're interested in out there. So at the end of the day, I just wanted to kind of wrap this up. This is what it's all about. I think YouTube's changed. I think it's changed really fast, and it's also been changing for a long time, if that makes any sense. But this kind of scares me, where someone can wield this much power, or this is such a big story. And I think at the end of the day, Linus Tech Tips did make a couple mistakes here for sure, absolutely. And they have to take responsibility for those. They have to address it correctly, like we all do. But people can make mistakes as well, and you have to kind of hash out all the details and make your own decisions on if you should support them or not. At the end of the day, like I said, I'll continue watching both channels that I talked about. I like them both, and I know how hard it is sometimes to make videos and make people happy. It's sometimes very difficult, and this one may make people pretty upset as well. But we'll talk about it soon, and we'll see what happens and transpires on this whole process. Anyways, I'll talk to you guys in a little bit. Peace.